Hello, this is Faith at Faith and Books. I'm going to do another video on unexpectedly homeschooling, and the theme for March 23rd is Patrick, Henry, and Rhetoric. March 23rd, 1775, I think it was, Patrick Henry gave his famous Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death speech at St. John's Church in Richmond, Virginia. And I'm from Virginia, and my older kids, and I know lots of kids in the state of Virginia, got to go down to Richmond, for us it's going down, and see a reenactment of the speech. So Patrick Henry's a big guy here, and his speech is, it's one of the greatest speeches ever given. I used to work with a guy who would always, just in the odd moment, he would say, "Why do men cry peace, peace, when there is no peace?" He just liked that line. But anyway, so I would recommend, if you have a chance, I'll link to a video below where you can see the reenactment. It's a little bit maybe hard to watch because I think it's better in person, or you could just read it out loud to your kids. And that made me think about rhetoric and how in modern education we don't really focus on it. We call it communications, and it's not taught in the same way that they taught it in classical schools or in the traditional way of education. So I thought that made me think of this program that I had taught at the co-op where I used to work. They have a program, they used a program called The Lost Tools of Writing. The Lost Tools of Writing, The Lost Tools of Writing. It's a play on words, The Lost Tools of Learning, is that what it was called? There was Dorothy L. Sayers, who wrote the Lord Peter Wimsey Mysteries, gave a speech, and then it became an essay, I guess, of how she would reform education, and she was very classically minded. She was a Latinist, and a lot of people base classical education now on her vision of it from that speech. So they are playing off on her, the name of her speech, The Lost Tools of Writing. But what I like, and I'll link to this program before, I'm not big into curriculum, but if if your kids are sort of, if online schooling isn't going so well wherever you are, and your kids sort of need something more, this program, I would say 7th grade and up, is a really good program. Now, I used an earlier version of it. I think they've made it even better now, but it's deceptively simple. It starts off it's almost boring in a way, but it wants to get the format, the way of thinking to be rote with the child, with the student, because it not only teaches good writing, but it teaches good speaking, and what it really teaches is a logic and how to structure an argument, how to ask the right questions to come up with a cogent argument, how to structure it, and then how to add in the eloquence needed to be persuasive. So it's a very good program. I highly recommend it, and I'll link below. And that made me thinking about the classical approach to rhetoric. It made me think of this book, Plutarch's Lives. Now, I never got very far with my kids with this. This is a kid's version. I did try to read it out loud to read some of these. He wrote this, I think it's called Parallel Lives, and what Plutarch did was he was a Roman, he was a Roman, and he wrote biographies, and he compared famous Greeks with famous Romans. So he paired them together, and he paired, one of the famous pairings is Demosthenes, I think I'm saying it right, Demosthenes, who was a famous rhetorician in Greece, and Cicero, or Cicero, in Rome. And Demosthenes gave this famous speech to the men of Athens, trying to get them to fight to resist King Philip of Macedonia, the father of Alexander the Great. And it's a very famous speech, and I'll link below to a video where somebody who's really good at this is reading out the speech. And then And then if you want, you can look up stuff on Cicero. It's harder to find that, but reading like a biography of Cicero would be an interesting thing to do. If you can find something online, like some kid's history or Roman history or something, that would be good for kids. Anyway, learning about the history of rhetoric and how important it has always been for public life. A good speaker can persuade people. We need our leaders to be good speakers, not only to be persuasive, but to, to inform and guide us. So I'll put various links below. And that was it. So Patrick Henry and learning to speak well. And the nice thing about the Lost Tools of Writing is that it really teaches kids to be able to get up and just give a speech off the top of their heads. It's because it teaches them how to think correctly about it. And you might do something. There are speech competitions going on all over the place. I know they have one for Frederick Douglass, and Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., I think, hosts one. I know 4-H does something like that. I wonder if anyone's doing that remotely. But it is fun to teach kids public speaking and sort of the principles of rhetoric. I find kids respond to it, and they like a chance to get up and speak. And even if they're shy, if they're in front of their family or just friends, or if they get a lot of practice, they can overcome that and learn to be at least a reasonable speaker. So anyway, that is my thought for tomorrow, or for, if you're watching this on the 23rd today. And stay healthy and take care. Bye-bye.